Welcome to Rolling Mikan, where we peel back the layers of tech innovation to reveal the juicy insight within. I'm Ellice, and as usual, I have my chief of everything, Team Hendricks here.
Hi.
It's 2024. You want to say a little bit more?
Like what?
Welcome back on the
Hi,
podcast.
it's 2024.
Yeah. Right. So, how are you doing, Tim? I mean, I see you every day.
Just walking.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
How's things?
I saw you this morning.
Obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. How's everything going with you so far?
Yes, things are great.
Yeah, I think the
Yes.
quarter is closed, and we have
that's
been really working very hard as well on our side. There's always ups and downs, surprises and stuff. So today's podcast, I think we have a very interesting topic that you and I talks about it a lot with our client, or even like to clients in sales or potential clients. We always have this conversation that we talk about, which is, should client consider off-the-shelf products?
Oh yes, a very common topic.
Yeah, like in this case, it's a decision, right? Because it involves into the financial projection, the ROI, and what is the best way for client when it comes to considering off-the-shelf products versus customization, right? So maybe I just want to start a very simple question, because just to share with the audiences, especially more of a non-tech bosses out there, off-the-shelf products are technically products that you can buy like SaaS, like you can just buy and purchase, and immediately you can solve the problem by just buying username and put in your emails, and you can use, for instance, like accounting softwares or HR softwares,
There are also
procurement.
still offline versions also exist a lot as off-the-shelf solutions, right? Things that you install on your server or on your infrastructure.
Yeah. And customization, there are many ways. One of the hit conversation or hit technology that now people are talking about is low code and no code, which we are very specialized in the area of in Orange Leaf Consulting. One of the things that I discovered why low code wasn't very much at the beginning about, like, oh, how much money I can get out of it. When I discovered it, number one, I already have a tech background. I studied tech actually, but I didn't pursue that. And then I went to corporate communications, and that was where I have to work with tech team, where I discovered there is a lot of backlog, delays, and areas that you can't use traditional technology to solve it as fast as the decision makers, the bosses, wants their product and solution to be out fast enough. And that was like, what I'm talking about, 15 years ago. And fast forward 7 years ago, when I discovered, about low code, I was surprised and shocked, like, oh, this thing exists, that you don't need a lot of traditional coding, yet you can solve problems for an organization.
Yes, the thing is though, I mean, you have experience with this firsthand in business. If speed is so much of the essence, why not just use off-the-shelf products? Like, what is the in your experience on the business side, but what is the, because in theory it sounds so nice, right? In theory, you buy the off-the-shelf product and you just bring it live, right? You don't need to change anything. So where does this go and get into challenges?
I think one of the things is that my experience was, when you try to keep changing features, adding, scaling, and debug. Like, when you try on a UAT, the user acceptance test, when you test on certain features and all that, and it doesn't work, maybe there's a bug, it doesn't link to certain features or certain characters. Can I use character? There's features, right? And what happened is, like, it doesn't work. And then you go to the tech team or the tech lead and say, hey, this is not working, can you please check? Or they ask you to file a report. After you file a report, they say, okay, wait for another 3 weeks. Oh, there's a long backlog of things. You got to wait for 3 months or 5 months, 6 months. And by the time you're able to solve that problem in 5 months later or 3 months later, people are so far ahead of implementing something else already out there in the market. That means you're not fast enough, to catch up the speed to market. When it comes to customization or scaling or changes.
Okay,
Can I say changes?
Yeah, I mean, so you're saying there's a gap between what the off-the-shelf software provides out of the box, and what users are expecting.
Yeah, and I discovered that very interesting as I dive into this business is that it's cool to have off-the-shelf product when you have a short-term situation to solve. SME, I think, yes, temporarily you can use it. However, once you want to start using customizing to your own unique business position, the customization costs quite a lot because you're technically asking people to customize to your taste, acquired taste of that fits your organization. But people are using traditional coding. So that means it requires more manpower, more time, and it's not anywhere faster.
Yeah, I think this is a really important point that you raised, which is that as long as you use default off-the-shelf products, you have the same solution as your competitors. Right? It's the same thing. Off-the-shelf product is a predefined thing. Anybody can buy it. Right? So if you're looking to set yourself apart, right, be competitive and have unique services or different development speeds or other things for your company, then you would want to have something on your own, right? And that is maybe one of the challenges for off-the-shelf software.
So coming to my question would be, then what is the advantage, right, for bosses out there who wants to opt off-the-shelf product? Is there a benefit first?
To off-the-shelf software?
Yeah, to choose the off-the-shelf product in the tech industry.
Yes, there is. I mean, for off-the-shelf software, it's for standardizing processes that you don't want or cannot customize.
Yeah.
Right. A good example is accounting. Right. Like you cannot reinvent accounting on your own. Right. You have to do accounting according to the laws of the country. Right. According to the tax
according
code.
to Bank Negara, there's so many things to adhere to. Yeah.
You're not allowed to change that.
Yeah.
Right. So that part you can use off-the-shelf software for processes like these that are not customizable.
Yeah.
Now, other areas, for example, how you manage your warehouse, right? There are standards for it, but a lot of companies do this very different ways, right? And there's no rules and regulations in terms of, oh, you can only do it this way, right? You can only do it that way. And this is where you can get an advantage over competitors. Similarly, when you have interchanges with your customers, they place orders with you. They can do this via phone, via email. You might have a system to automate it. Like these are things that can set you apart from your competition that are not standardized or regulated. And that's where you can get a lot of value from local solutions.
So what is the limitation, or what are the limitations or drawbacks associated to using off-the-shelf product then?
So the limitations are the software comes as it comes, right? So sometimes it will fit your processes very well and sometimes it will not. What often turns out is that on the surface it does what you want it to do, but then if you go into the details of day-to-day operations, there are things that you want to have differently. Now, most off-the-shelf software can be customized, but this gets increasingly expensive, right? The more customization you want, there's an exponential line between the customization factor and the cost. It goes up really fast. And at that point, if you need a high amount of customization, let's say 10-20% or more, you're often better off with a custom-made solution.
Okay, that makes me think a little bit about, like when we talk about customization and also off-the-shelf products, when is the best time for a client to consider customization then?
The best time to consider customization?
Like, let's say I'm on an off-the-shelf product. I'm not too sure if customization, because even ourselves, when we talk about customization, a lot of people will start thinking, oh, it's going to be so expensive. Oh, it's on the cloud. I want to be on the server. I mean, to a certain extent, we understand that. in certain businesses, they do need to be, on-prem, right? On-premise. But there are businesses that actually it's not a bad idea to be on cloud. So at what point in time, or in what area or what situation is the best time where the client should start opting or considering not using off-the-shelf product? And by the way, if I'm using off-the-shelf product, can I move to customization?
Okay. There's a few questions in there, right?
You can do it.
One thing for sure is that you don't want to customize or move from on-premise to cloud because somebody told you it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right? This is not the right way to go. What you want is to have a specific business outcome in mind, right? So it could be that your current software has a very high maintenance cost or has a lot of issues in production, right, that you want to resolve. That could be a good reason to change something. It could also be that you either on your own or with help from a consultancy like us have identified significant process improvements, right? So let's say right now, if somebody places an order, it takes you 1 month to fulfill it, but maybe with some optimizations, it can be brought down to 3 weeks or to 2 weeks, right? So if you identify areas like that, you can calculate what the outcome is, the financial outcome of that change, and then it makes sense to actually talk about customization. In terms of does the customization have to replace your off-the-shelf product? It can be both. Right? In some cases, there's a significant part of the off-the-shelf solutions that you have that are suitable for daily use, like often the case with accounting. And you leave those and you extend that with, for example, low-code solutions around that system. And sometimes the solution that you have is no longer adequate in the big picture, and you can consider completely replacing it with a custom solution.
Speaking about that, I remember that when we first started the company, very early stage, where we discovered that API was not even a conversation that happened in Malaysia. Remember that?
Yes.
And it was really interesting that one of our clients wanted to be on customizing his own solution. And then he realized that he can't do that because the vendor that he used doesn't have API. And that actually became a huge roadblock for us, because we can't do things that, there's no API, then the data migration methodology will be different.
Yes. I think ownership is another very big point of this, right? A lot of companies that are not very like tech savvy on their own, they buy software or products that seem cheap and convenient, but where ownership of the software doesn't lie with them, which is typically the case for off-the-shelf software. But also sometimes ownership of the data is not with them. So you buy the system and you use it every day to run your business, but all the transactions of your customers, they're not owned by you, right? This can happen, and it happens surprisingly often. And these are some of the additional advantages you can get from a customized solution, because it's owned by you. You own it, you customize it, and you also have full access to all of your data, right?
So what do they own then? Like, if I get somebody, like, I think one of the things was about, I think like in F&B, right? More often that, like this is a use case that we experience with people that we have, encountered. Hashtag disclaimer. What happened was, most of the time, when we spoke to F&B industry, they say that they get the data, but they also don't get all the data. So when you on board with a particular vendor, what data did they get, or what they don't get actually? Do you know?
Yeah. So for some of the smaller point of sale systems vendors, right, they will give you the receipts, for example, but you can't download everything. You can't say, give me all the details from it. Especially not via an API, like a system-to-system connection, but often parts of the transaction data is obscured, and you can't get that unless the vendor wants to give it to you. So they have control over your business, which is not ideal, right? So even for off-the-shelf software, it's very important to check the contracts, like who owns the data for that particular system.
Yeah, this is another disclaimer, we are sharing this because we're a consultancy. So those are our best practice that we normally will make sure that we ask the questions to our clients as well. Yeah, to make sure that, the high level is covered. Of course, if you want to cover in terms of technology, the conversation never ends. We always do what we need to do to ensure that the industry is covered by certain specific areas, and we always have this conversation with a client, and we also have clients that were sometimes like, oh, you didn't ask me this, you didn't ask me that, but we always tell the client that customization is a very different approach than off-the-shelf product, because there's no template. That means that you can build a house on a piece of land, right? So there's no specific rule to it. We need to build the rule towards building the right system for the client.
Yes.
Right. So coming to the next question would be, since we talk about off-the-shelf product, and let's zoom into customization, which we are more of something that we are very passionate in doing. Maybe you want to in brief share with the audiences out there, what are the benefits of customizing your own solution? The fact that I think first question when it comes to Malaysia is always like, how much got cheap or got discount? That kind of question. I mean, we're human at the end of the day, right? And when you're an employee, obviously you want to think the best interest for the company. It's pretty common questions to have. So in this area, I think what I want to ask is the key benefit of customizing in terms of the benefit of it in terms of performance, scalability, and also user experience. We are not here to sell anything, but just sharing with you. Hashtag.
Right. So advantages are a few things that we will be recounting a few things, right? But because your solution is customized, it means you have control over the experience. It means that the way the user interface goes, the kind of features that are available are decided by you and your company, right? As opposed to for off-the-shelf solutions where features are there and you either like them or you don't like them, right? Customization will always be limited for off-the-shelf software. For us, it can be anything that you want. On the other hand, it's also very important, part of the ownership that we just mentioned, right? Like for customer solution, our customers own the software, right?
Define own the software. Maybe a lot of people, unless you're a tech person, that I discovered, unless you're a tech person, you do have set of questions to understand what ownership means. But what about CEOs, whoever who doesn't have tech experience, like myself? It took a while to learn what ownership means. Maybe you can explain a little bit further on that one, like what ownership means.
Yeah. So any piece of software has or is intellectual property.
Yeah.
Right. Which means that the solution itself is worth something, right? And it could be duplicated, it could be resold, right? It can be customized, freely changed, right? So for things that you own, solutions that you own, you have that freedom, right? You have the freedom to customize it. You also can get all the data, right? There's nothing that is locked behind some vendor, right? And if you were to really have a good idea for the software or for part of it, you could then sell that to other companies, for example, right? It's its own value. You have full freedom what to do with it.
It sounds good, but at the same time, maybe you can share a little bit of what are the misconceptions in the market or your experience that when we go out and talk about customization and people just, take it in the wrong way.
I think a lot of people have been having bad experience over the years.
Yeah.
Before local became a thing and it became this fast with software, right? The conception is it's expensive, takes forever, and it will not
cannot be done.
Yes. Right? Those are the three main ones, right?
Yeah.
So basically, for a lot of people, they feel like it's a sinkhole.
Yep.
They'll put a lot of money into it and nothing will come up.
Yeah.
Right. So it's important that you select the right technology. Right. So something that works fast, like local. It's important that you work with the right party. Right. People who are experienced, who have expertise both with their company processes as well as with the newest technology. And then you want to get involved. Right. This is also important. Right? So don't. If you want to customize a system, don't hand it to somebody and walk away and say, "Oh, here, you take care of this, and I'll do everything."
Oh yeah. I mean that means also we had an experience. I think we also kind of changed the landscape how things work as well as a consultancy, where like myself being a Malaysian, I discovered this a lot, that most of the time you just give a requirement to a vendor and they take it back, and then they just just design and program and or develop something out of it based on instruction, without layman term what I call it. However, most of the time there is one more step that is missing here, is to involve the business users to be part of the process, to make sure that they are part of the project and also able to contribute their comment and also changes, because at the end of the day the business user are the one who will be using it. Now with local technology, the enterprise level, ours is the enterprise level where we focus, I knew and I've experienced and seen and witnessed some of the proud stories that we will talk about afterwards. You can almost instantly make changes on the spot if it's not too complicated. And if it's complicated, obviously you can't, like financial related stuff, and of course it links to some other core systems as well. But technically, low code, you're able to make changes accordingly, where sometimes it takes weeks, it becomes days, and some become hours. And this is why you need to include the business owners or the business users, because they will be also feeling proud when they are able to contribute some of their pain point day-to-day work into the process, where they will be benefiting to it. When we talk about work-life balance or work balance, processes like that will surprise you how much it contributes to like automating processes that not necessarily require them to be part of it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, that's a very interesting that we cover quite a lot. Okay, one last question. Can you share with the audience, although I know, oops. Okay, can you share with the audience, too excited, one case study that Orange Leaf did with full customization and successfully implemented versus using low code versus customization versus traditional coding?
Okay, yeah, sure. We definitely have a good case for that.
Okay.
So we had a customer who were building an app, right? And they were working on it for about a year.
Yeah.
With a development team of 10 people. This comes back to it takes a lot of time and money to develop a system on your own, right?
Yeah.
So 10 people, 1 year, and it didn't go live without a lot of bumps and remaining features that still need to be implemented. So it wasn't really a smooth ride. So when we got involved, they asked us if we can help them clear their backlog of things, right? But the system was already built on traditional coding. There wasn't really much that we could customize about that, right? So the faster option was actually to replace it. So the customer was shocked. They said, we just built this in a year with 10 people. How could you propose to replace it? Right?
Unbelievable.
Yes, they were not keen to hear that story.
Yeah,
they were like,
of
I will
course.
just spend a year doing this, right?
Yeah.
But we demonstrated to them the development speed of low code, and then they were convinced of it. In the end, we managed to rebuild that whole system that was built in 1 year by 10 people with just 2 people in 2 months. And that includes the backlog that was there. So it was significantly faster, significantly cheaper, and it actually had the features that were required at the end of the project.
Yep.
So that's a really good case. I really like that.
Yeah, I remember that case as well. I have to pretend that I don't remember. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for sharing. It's also time's up for today.
Yes.
So once again, thank you, and thank you for tuning in on our Rolling Mikan.
Thank you, everyone.
Right, so don't forget to subscribe as we will share more insight, and I hope that this session has brought you a lot of insight as well, and learning and discovery. So stay tuned for the next episode. Have a great week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.